my aunt announced that I needed to earn my dinner since I was unemployed. She forced me to clean toilets at the restaurant right during the wedding reception. Guests saw me on my knees with a toilet brush. I'm still shaking as I write this. 24 years old, living in Louisiana, and I just experienced the most humiliating moment of my entire life. My family thinks I'm overreacting, but I need to know if I'm crazy or if what happened to me was completely out of line. 3 months ago, I lost my job at a local retail store when they downsized. I've been applying everywhere, but the job market here is brutal. My savings ran out last month, so I've been staying with my parents while I get back on my feet. It's embarrassing enough being an adult living at home, but I'm doing everything I can to find work. My aunt has always been the type of person who thinks she knows best about everything. She's never been subtle about her opinions, especially when it comes to what she calls personal responsibility. Ever since I moved back home, she's been making little comments about how young people today don't want to work hard enough. I usually just ignore her because arguing never gets anywhere. When she got engaged 6 months ago, she made a big deal about having a fancy wedding at this upscale restaurant downtown. She kept talking about how much money she was spending and how she wanted everything to be perfect. The whole family was invited, and despite her attitude toward me, I was actually looking forward to celebrating with everyone. The week before the wedding, she called my mom and specifically asked if I was still unemployed. When my mom confirmed that yes, I was still job hunting, my aunt got this tone in her voice that I recognize from childhood. She said something about how it would be educational for me to see what real work looks like. My mom didn't really understand what she meant, and honestly, neither did I at the time. The day of the wedding arrived, and I put on the nicest dress I owned. It wasn't designer or anything, but it was appropriate and I felt good in it. I even did my hair and makeup carefully because I wanted to feel confident despite everything I'd been going through. The ceremony was beautiful, and I was genuinely happy for my aunt, despite our differences. After the ceremony, we all moved to the reception area of the restaurant. The place was gorgeous with white tablecloths, flowers everywhere, and soft lighting. I found my assigned seat and started chatting with my cousins, feeling more relaxed than I had in months. For a moment, I forgot about my unemployment stress and just enjoyed being surrounded by family. That's when my aunt appeared next to my chair. She was still in her wedding dress, looking radiant, but there was something in her expression that made my stomach drop. She leaned down and spoke quietly, but her words hit me like a physical blow. She told me that since I wasn't contributing to society by working, and since she was paying for this expensive reception, I needed to earn my place at the table. She said she had spoken to the restaurant manager and arranged for me to help with cleaning duties during the reception. Specifically, she wanted me to clean the restrooms throughout the evening. I thought she was joking at first. I actually laughed and said something about how funny she was, but her face remained completely serious. She explained that she had brought cleaning supplies in her car, and that the restaurant staff would show me where everything was. She said it was time I learned what real work felt like, and that she wasn't going to enable my lazy lifestyle any longer. The worst part was how matter-of-fact she was about it, like this was a completely reasonable request. Like humiliating me at her own wedding was just good parenting or something. I looked around desperately, hoping someone would intervene, but most of the family was busy with cocktails and conversations. When I tried to protest, she cut me off and said that if I wanted to eat the dinner she was paying for, I would do what she asked. She reminded me that I was living off my parents' charity, and that it was time to show some gratitude by working for my meal. The way she said it made me feel about 2 inches tall. I was trapped. I couldn't afford to leave and get my own dinner somewhere else. I didn't have money for a taxi home, and making a scene at her wedding would have caused drama that would follow me for years. So I followed her to her car in my dress and heels, where she handed me a bucket full of cleaning supplies and rubber gloves. The restaurant manager looked uncomfortable when my aunt introduced me as the family volunteer, who would be helping with restroom maintenance. I could tell he thought the whole situation was weird, but my aunt was paying for a big event and he wasn't going to argue with a customer. So there I was in my nice dress, cleaning toilets while my family ate dinner and danced. The restrooms were busy all night, and I had to keep going back to clean up after guests. The worst part wasn't even the physical work. It was the looks I got from other wedding guests who didn't understand why someone in formal wear was scrubbing toilets. Some people recognized me as family and looked confused. Others just stared. A few people even asked if I worked for the restaurant, and I didn't know how to explain without making everything worse. I spent the entire reception on my hands and knees, cleaning up after people while wearing my best dress. My aunt made a point of checking on me throughout the night, acting like she was being helpful by giving me more tasks. She would come into the restroom with other guests and make comments about how good it was for me to learn work ethic. She actually thanked me loudly in front of other people for helping out, like I had volunteered for this. By the end of the night, my dress was ruined, my hands were raw from the cleaning chemicals, and I felt completely broken. I had missed the entire reception, the dinner I was supposedly earning, the dancing, the cake cutting, everything. I spent my cousin's wedding night as an unpaid janitor. When it was time to leave, my aunt acted like everything was normal. She hugged me goodbye and said she hoped I had learned something valuable about hard work. She even had the nerve to say she was proud of me for stepping up when family needed help. I rode home in silence with my parents, who still didn't fully understand what had happened. They knew I had been helping with cleaning, but my aunt had somehow made it sound like I had volunteered. When I tried to explain how humiliating it had been, my mom said that maybe it was good for me to help out since we were all family. That was 2 weeks ago, and I still feel sick when I think about it. I keep replaying the night in my head, wondering if I should have refused or made a scene. Part of me thinks I should have just left, but I honestly didn't know what else to do in the moment. The family is acting like nothing happened. My aunt posted beautiful wedding photos on social media, and everyone is commenting about what a perfect day it was. Meanwhile, I can't stop thinking about how she deliberately humiliated me at what was supposed to be a celebration. I finally got a job interview scheduled for next week, which is great news. But I keep worrying that potential employers will somehow find out about what happened at the wedding. I know that's probably irrational, but the whole experience has made me feel so small and worthless. What makes it worse is that some family members think my aunt was actually being helpful. They say she was trying to motivate me to find work, and that I should be grateful she cares enough to push me. But making me clean toilets at her wedding wasn't motivation. It was punishment for being unemployed. I don't know how to face my family at future gatherings. Every time I think about seeing my aunt again, I feel that same sick feeling in my stomach. She took what was already a difficult time in my life and made it so much worse. Am I overreacting? Was this really about helping me learn work ethic? Or was it just cruel? Update. I can't believe how much response this got. Thank you to everyone who validated my feelings and confirmed that what my aunt did was not okay. Reading your comments helped me realize that I wasn't being dramatic. This really was as messed up as it felt. After I posted this, something unexpected happened. My cousin, who is my aunt's daughter, reached out to me privately. Apparently, she had been feeling terrible about the whole situation but didn't know how to bring it up. She told me that she had no idea what her mother was planning, and that she was horrified when she realized what was happening. She also told me something that changed everything. It turns out that my aunt had been telling people at the wedding that I had volunteered to help with cleaning, because I felt bad about not being able to contribute financially to the wedding gift. She was literally spreading lies to cover up what she had done. My cousin was so upset about this that she decided to talk to her mother directly. She told my aunt that what she did was unacceptable, and that she was embarrassed to be associated with it. This led to a huge argument where my aunt defended herself by saying she was trying to teach me responsibility. But here's where it gets interesting. During their argument, my cousin recorded part of the conversation on her phone. My aunt said some pretty revealing things about her real motivations. She admitted that she was tired of me getting handouts from my parents, and that she wanted to show me what it felt like to work for what I get. She also said that unemployed people need to be humbled sometimes. My cousin sent me the recording, and honestly, hearing my aunt's real thoughts was both validating and heartbreaking. It confirmed that this wasn't about helping me. It was about punishing me for being unemployed. Meanwhile, the story was starting to spread through our extended family. Some relatives who had been at the wedding were beginning to understand what had really happened. A few people reached out to apologize for not intervening when they saw me cleaning. My uncle, who is married to a different aunt, called me directly to say he was disgusted by what happened. He told me that if he had realized what was going on, he would have stopped it immediately. He also said that several other family members were now questioning my aunt's version of events. The job interview I mentioned went really well, and I actually got the position. It's not my dream job, but it's full-time with benefits and it feels amazing to be working again. Having that stability made it easier to deal with the family drama, because I didn't feel as vulnerable anymore. But the real turning point came when my grandmother got involved. My aunt had made the mistake of bragging to my grandmother about how she had motivated me to find work. She apparently told my grandmother that her tough love approach had been successful since I got a job right after the wedding. My grandmother did not react the way my aunt expected. She was absolutely furious when she understood what had actually happened. My grandmother is old school and believes in family loyalty above everything, but she also has very strong opinions about treating people with dignity. She called a family meeting, which is something that hasn't happened in years. When my grandmother calls a family meeting, everyone shows up. She laid into my aunt in front of the whole family, using words I had never heard from her before. She said that humiliating family members was not acceptable under any circumstances and that my aunt should be ashamed of herself. My grandmother also made it clear that my aunt's behavior reflected poorly on the entire family. She pointed out that other wedding guests had witnessed what happened, and that people were now talking about our family's strange dynamics. This really got to my aunt because she cares a lot about appearances. The confrontation was intense. My aunt tried to defend herself by saying that young people today need to learn about hard work and responsibility. But my grandmother shut that down immediately. She pointed out that there are ways to encourage family members without deliberately humiliating them at public events. My grandmother also brought up the fact that my aunt had lied to other family members about my volunteering to clean. She said that lying to cover up bad behavior was even worse than the original offense. By the end of the meeting, my aunt was in tears. She kept saying that she had only been trying to help, and that everyone was overreacting. But the damage was done. The family had heard the truth, and most of them were not okay with what she had done. Several relatives approached me after the meeting to apologize for not understanding the situation sooner. My mom, who had initially thought my aunt was just being helpful, was mortified when she realized what had really happened. She apologized for not supporting me more immediately. The weirdest part was how my aunt's own husband reacted. He had been pretty quiet during the whole ordeal, but after the family meeting he pulled me aside to apologize. He said he had been uncomfortable during the wedding, but didn't want to cause problems on their special day. He also admitted that his wife sometimes goes too far when she thinks she's helping people. In the days following the family meeting, I started getting texts and calls from relatives I hadn't heard from in years. Word had spread beyond our immediate family, and people were reaching out to offer support and express their disapproval of what had happened. One of my older cousins even offered me a job at her company if my new position didn't work out. She said that families should support each other during difficult times, not tear each other down. It was really touching to see how many people cared once they understood the truth. But my aunt was not handling the backlash well. According to my cousin, she was angry that everyone was ganging up on her, and felt like she was being unfairly criticized for trying to help family. She started reaching out to relatives individually, trying to get them to see her side of the story. This backfired spectacularly. The more she tried to justify what she had done, the worse she made herself look. She kept insisting that tough love was necessary, and that I needed to learn about work ethic. But people weren't buying it anymore. My cousin told me that her mother was also upset about the family meeting, and felt like my grandmother had embarrassed her. She was considering not attending future family gatherings, which honestly would have been fine with me at that point. The situation reached a breaking point when my aunt decided to write a long Facebook post about the importance of work ethic and personal responsibility. She didn't mention the wedding specifically, but it was obviously aimed at the recent family drama. The post came across as defensive and tone-deaf. Several family members commented on the post, and it quickly became clear that most people weren't supporting her position. Some relatives flat out disagreed with her approach, while others shared their own stories about times when family had supported them during difficult periods. My cousin was so embarrassed by her mother's Facebook post that she actually commented publicly, saying that there are better ways to help family members than humiliation. This led to a very public mother-daughter argument in the comments section, which made the whole situation even more uncomfortable for everyone. Eventually, my cousin deleted her comment and called her mother to try to smooth things over privately. But the damage was done. The Facebook post had made it clear to everyone that my aunt was not sorry for what she had done and still believed she was in the right. That's when my grandmother stepped in again. She rarely uses social media, but she created a Facebook account specifically to respond to my aunt's post. She wrote a comment that was polite but firm, stating that family members should support each other with dignity and respect. Coming from my grandmother, this was basically the final word on the subject. My aunt deleted the entire post within hours, but screenshots had already been taken and shared among family members. The whole experience taught me a lot about family dynamics and who really has my back when things get difficult. Some relatives surprised me with their support, while others disappointed me with their initial reactions. But I'm in a much better place now. I have a job I like, I've moved into my own apartment, and I feel more confident about my future. The wedding incident was horrible, but it also showed me which family members truly care about my well-being. I still see my aunt at family gatherings, but our relationship has fundamentally changed. She's never directly apologized, though she has made a few awkward attempts at being nice to me. I'm polite but distant, and I think that's probably how things will stay. My cousin and I have become much closer through all of this. She's been dealing with her own feelings about her mother's behavior, and has been very supportive throughout my recovery from the whole ordeal. The weird thing is that some good things came out of this awful experience. I have a better understanding of my family relationships, I'm more financially independent, and I've learned to stand up for myself better. Not that I would ever want to go through something like that again. I also learned that sometimes the worst situations can reveal people's true characters, both the bad and the good. Final update. It's been 6 months since the wedding incident, and I wanted to share how everything turned out because this community has been so supportive throughout this whole ordeal. First, the good news. My job has been going really well. I got promoted last month and now have enough savings to feel truly secure for the first time in years. Moving into my own place was the best decision I could have made for my mental health and independence. But the real reason I'm writing this final update is because something completely unexpected happened last week that changed everything. My cousin got married last month, and obviously the whole family was invited. I was nervous about seeing my aunt again, especially at another wedding, but I wasn't going to miss my cousin's special day because of family drama. The wedding was beautiful, and I actually had a great time. My aunt and I basically avoided each other, which worked fine for both of us. I thought that was going to be the end of the story. We'd just be polite strangers at family events from now on. But during the reception, something happened that I never could have predicted. My aunt's husband, who had always seemed like a quiet, supportive spouse, stood up during the toasts and asked for everyone's attention. He started by talking about love and marriage and family bonds, which seemed normal enough. But then he took a turn that nobody saw coming. He started talking about how marriage had taught him the importance of admitting when you're wrong and making amends for past mistakes. Then he looked directly at me and said that he wanted to publicly apologize for not speaking up when he should have. He said that 6 months ago, he had watched a family member be treated poorly at a family event, and he had stayed silent when he should have intervened. He went on to say that staying quiet when someone you care about is being mistreated is a form of cowardice, and that he had been thinking about it ever since. He said that families should protect each other, not stand by while someone gets humiliated. The entire reception got very quiet. Everyone knew exactly what he was referring to, and you could feel the tension in the room. My aunt looked absolutely mortified, but her husband wasn't finished. He said that he loved his wife, but that love doesn't mean agreeing with everything someone does. He talked about how marriage requires calling each other out when necessary and supporting each other in becoming better people. Then he did something that completely shocked everyone. He walked over to my table and formally apologized to me in front of the entire wedding reception. He said that I had handled an impossible situation with grace and dignity, and that he was sorry for not standing up for me when it mattered. He also said that he had been proud to hear about my new job and my independence, and that he hoped I knew how much the family loved and respected me. Then he raised his glass and proposed a toast to family members who show strength in difficult times. The whole room erupted in applause, and I honestly started crying right there at my table. It was the kind of public vindication I never expected to receive, and it felt incredibly healing. But my aunt's reaction was something else entirely. She stood up abruptly and walked out of the reception without saying a word. just left her own daughter's wedding celebration because her husband had apologized to me. Her husband looked sad but not surprised. He told the room that sometimes doing the right thing is more important than keeping the peace, and then he went after his wife to try to talk to her. They were gone for about an hour, and when they came back, my aunt looked like she had been crying. She sat down quietly and didn't say anything else for the rest of the reception. Her husband seemed relieved but also emotionally drained. After the wedding, my cousin told me what had happened during that hour outside. Apparently, my aunt's husband had been building up to this moment for months. He said that watching me get humiliated at their own wedding had been eating at him, and that he couldn't pretend everything was normal anymore. He told my aunt that her behavior had been cruel, and that he was embarrassed to be associated with it. He said that their marriage couldn't move forward if she didn't acknowledge what she had done and make it right. My aunt apparently broke down during their conversation and admitted that she knew what she had done was wrong. She said that she had been angry about her own financial stress from paying for an expensive wedding and had taken it out on me because I was an easy target. She also admitted that she had always been jealous of the close relationship I had with my grandmother and other family members. She felt like people liked me more than they liked her, and seeing me struggle with unemployment had made her feel superior for the first time. Her husband told her that these feelings were understandable, but that taking them out on family members was unacceptable. He said that if she wanted to save their marriage and her relationships with the rest of the family, she needed to make genuine amends. The next day, I got a text message from my aunt asking if we could meet for coffee. I was honestly hesitant because I didn't want to get dragged into more drama, but something about the message felt different. It was humble in a way that nothing from her had ever been before. We met at a quiet cafe near my apartment, and she looked terrible, like she hadn't been sleeping well for weeks. She started by saying that her husband had given her an ultimatum: apologize sincerely to me and work on changing her behavior, or he was going to seriously reconsider their marriage. But then she said something that surprised me. She said that even without the ultimatum, she had been feeling guilty about what happened at her wedding for months. She said that watching her own daughter get married had made her think about what kind of person she wanted to be, and what kind of family legacy she wanted to leave. She apologized for humiliating me, for lying about my volunteering to clean, and for trying to justify her behavior afterward. She said that she had been dealing with her own insecurities and financial pressure, but that none of that excused what she did to me. She also said something that really stuck with me. She said that seeing how well I was doing now, with my job and my apartment and my independence, had made her realize that I never needed her tough love in the first place. She said that I had always been capable of figuring things out on my own, and that her interference had just been cruel. The apology felt genuine in a way that surprised me. She wasn't making excuses or trying to minimize what happened. She was actually taking full responsibility and acknowledging the impact her actions had on me. She asked if there was anything she could do to make amends, and I told her that the public apology from her husband had actually meant a lot to me. But I also said that rebuilding trust would take time, and that I needed her to understand that our relationship had been fundamentally changed by what happened. She said she understood and that she didn't expect immediate forgiveness. She just wanted me to know that she was genuinely sorry, and that she was committed to being a better person and a better family member going forward. We talked for about 2 hours, and by the end, I felt like I was seeing a completely different side of her. She was vulnerable and honest in a way I had never experienced before. It didn't erase what happened, but it felt like a real beginning to healing. Since then, she's been consistently respectful and kind when we interact at family events. She doesn't try to force a close relationship, but she makes an effort to be supportive and encouraging. It's still awkward sometimes, but it's manageable. Her husband and I have developed a really good relationship. I have so much respect for him now, and I think he feels good about finally doing the right thing. My cousin says her parents' marriage is actually stronger now, because they're communicating more honestly about difficult topics. The whole experience taught me that sometimes the worst situations can lead to unexpected growth and healing. I never would have chosen to go through the wedding humiliation, but the aftermath showed me who really cares about me, and led to some important family conversations that needed to happen. I also learned that standing up for yourself doesn't always have to be dramatic or immediate. Sometimes healing happens slowly, through other people's courage and through honest conversations that take months to unfold. My relationship with my aunt will never be the same as it was before, but it's evolved into something more honest and respectful. And my relationships with other family members, especially my cousin and my aunt's husband, have become deeper and more meaningful. I'm in a really good place now professionally, personally, and within my family. The wedding incident was one of the worst experiences of my life, but it led to some of the most important growth I've ever done. Sometimes the people who hurt us the most can also teach us the most about resilience, boundaries, and the importance of surrounding ourselves with people who truly support us. Thanks to everyone who followed this story and offered support along the way. Your validation and encouragement meant more than you know.